Jenny Ray, the Managing Director of Management Consulted, and I'm here today to conclude our consulting resume series. The focus today is on consulting Mythbusters, and specifically focused on consulting resumes. One of the key issues that we often find is that people believe one thing that consultants are looking for, and something else is actually true. And we've discovered that some of the cause of this is that consultants themselves are to blame. In fact, sometimes you may hear some of the following things that consultants care about or are looking for when the actual opposite is true. I'm going to list some of these out and I'm going to explain them. So the first thing that they say that they're looking for but don't really care about is your entrepreneurial experience. When I'm talking about your entrepreneurial experience, I'm talking about here the specific focus on what you've done outside of the classroom. They're not interested in that as a core part of your story. If it's your main work experience, that's fine. If you've been highly successful as an entrepreneur, by which I mean you sold a company for millions plus of dollars, then that can be helpful. But for the most part, entrepreneurial experience is something that you would include more in the leadership category as opposed to a focus on your actual experience section. The second thing that people often will say that they care about but isn't important are case or consulting related activities. It's not important that you demonstrate an interest in consulting. It's important that you demonstrate an interest in business, and that interest should actually be broad and diverse. So a focus on cases and a focus on groups like consulting clubs can be helpful, but they demonstrate leadership skills in the same way that the leadership of a, for example, debate society would be founded. So, similar types of skills they're looking for. There isn't anything special about consulting or case-related activities in particular. They can be very valuable for you to prepare for the consulting interview process, but they're just not necessarily valuable in terms of the resume. The third thing that they say that they look for but don't really care about are lots of activities. When they say they're interested in people who are very involved, they're not saying that they're interested in people who are involved in 100 activities. They're not saying that they're interested in people who are on 50 listservs. What they're talking about are people who take a deep role as a leader in a few choice organizations that represent a diverse set of interests. You'll often find when a consulting firm is done at the end of the day with their hiring that the people that they've hired represent multiple different interests. There's not a cookie cutter approach, but the core focus isn't on lots of activities. The core focus is on depth in a small number of activities. The fourth thing that's important to note are general awards. They're not interested in the fact that you made the dean's list or anything that was given to a large group of people. The awards that they're interested in and the distinctions that they're interested in are things that you won either with a very select group of people or just you. So something that really makes you stand apart as a part of the crowd. This is important because they really want to see how you are different and how you survive in competitive environments. The final thing that they say that they're looking for but don't necessarily care about are industry certifications. Now, things like Six Sigma or Black Belt for certain advanced degree roles can be helpful, but for the most part, industry certifications like finance certifications or even, for example, CPA roles for consulting are not really that valuable. Sometimes they can even be a detriment to you because they can show that you're so deep, such an expert and so focused in certain areas that you're actually not able to pull up and identify the big picture. Now, there are some things that consultants really do care about, and I also want to highlight those for you. Make sure that you highlight, number one, your Excel skills. It's amazing, but a lot of people do not put this on their resume. You should be the type of person that's building a spreadsheet for the way that you're handling your week, who's building a spreadsheet for a trip that you're planning to take. And they want to see that you're using Excel on the job and in your leadership experience. They want to see that you can do data analytics. That demonstrates that you're comfortable with it and that you like it. So those are important things to mention. Another thing that's important to mention are 1 to 2 substantial leadership roles. Like I mentioned before, activities, although they may say that they want to see activities, what they're really looking for are key leadership roles. The third thing that's important to highlight is employee or academic awards. A lot of these very specific awards that you win and you solely win can really demonstrate how in a pack of already competitive people, you again surpass the crowd. The fourth thing that's important to know is that you have 1 to 2 diverse experiences that you convey. A lot of people ask, how many experiences is the right number? And really, you only need 1 to 2 really key experiences, but they should tell different parts of your story. So a lot of times we'll have people that write us and ask, is this an appropriate summer internship? And generally we'll say yes, but we'll say, in light of what else you have done, does this add something new to your story? So make sure that you're focusing on the well-roundedness of your experience and the diversity of your experience. The final thing that they look for that it is really essential to include are top scores in competitive situations. They're looking for GMAT, for SAT, and also for high GPA scores. They're looking for when you take an entrance exam, it's a national exam, that you score really high on it. So just make sure that you do include those top scores. And if you're young and early in the process, make sure that you're working toward top scores as a part of what they're going to be looking for. Now, I'm going to wrap up by just talking about some of the options that you've got to review and edit your resume. I hope that I've impressed upon you the importance of going through an extensive review process. Please don't cram your resume together in 30 minutes and shove it out the door. That's not going to work, especially in a highly competitive environment like consulting. So the core focus here is really on going through multiple steps of the resume review to really polish and perfect what you've got. The first step should be doing a personal review. You yourself should look through the format, the story and the structure, and finally the actual wording based on the guidelines that we've put together. Make sure that you go through and reconstruct your entire story. Be really thorough about it. And if you ever have questions about what you're putting down, think, what would I say if someone asked about this? Make sure that you're telling the level of detail that would be appropriate to respond in a conversation with someone. The second thing that you should do is have an external review, and you've got multiple options for this. The first would be a friend or, for example, a family member. These are great. They're often very available and usually highly willing to go through the process with you. Just make sure that you understand that the friend or the family member may not understand consulting, and they may be looking for something that you're not necessarily trying to convey, but oftentimes they just give a third-party opinion, which can be super helpful. The second are career service officials. They're excellent, good resources to, again, kind of highlight some of the common ways that it's important to understand consulting. Many of them are not trained on consulting specific resumes. So again, they're not going to be able to necessarily answer your consulting specific questions, but they will be able to help you make sure that you don't have any key spelling errors, or make sure that you're at least conveying your story across the board. And then finally, we at Management Consulted offer what I think is the best resume review and resume editing service out there that's available to you. We have a team of ex-MBB consultants. I, Jenny Ray, captain that team, and the core focus that we spend most of our days on is reviewing your resumes and making sure that they're absolutely perfect before you go through the process of applying. So we'd love to work with you, and you can check out more details about that on our website. In the meantime, the final thing that's important to make sure that you do here is networking. After you've compiled your resume, really your key next step, after going through the resume review on your own, externally, and then hopefully with a professional or someone like us, then you're able to go through the process of networking. So before you even apply, you even want to finally do a tailoring experience where you're going to work with people inside the firm that you know. This could be at formal networking events like information sessions or coffee chats. It could also be at informal situations or times when you set up an informational interview with someone. So just make sure that you're utilizing the story in your resume and preparing your stories as you begin to prepare for your interviews. At this point, you're ready to apply, and your goal at that point is just to start getting ready for case and fit interviews. Good luck with the process. We hope that this series has been really helpful to help you understand what's important to include and what's important not to include in a consulting resume.